Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, Alex Anthopoulos found a helping hand. Are the Desmond Ridder Ryan Tannehill comps fair? And last but not least, and for the culture, Taulia passed up the big bag. It's all coming up next. ATL Day Ones, let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. ATL Day Ones are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, you probably, if you're watching us on YouTube, you're probably looking and saying that, hey, that's not Tenitra Batiste. That is Aaron Freeman, Mr. Falcons fans himself, is joining and filling in for Tenitra today. So, all you people listening, don't worry. Tenitra will be back. She's not going anywhere. Aaron is just filling in just for the day. We welcome Aaron Freeman into the program, man. Appreciate you for joining us today, dog.
Look, I got big shoes to step in with Tenitra here on the podcast, so I'll do my best to sort of fill those big shoes here.
Absolutely. Speaking of filling big shoes, one of the things that, MLB trade deadline just passed, though, the Atlanta Braves obviously we're in rumors and trade conversations and talking to different people, and we found out that they were interested in Justin Verlander. He ended up going back home, back to the Houston Astros, where he won 2 World Series, going for a third. Obviously, for him to be able to step back into that fold, the New York Mets are paying a good, pretty penny of that contract. So, hey, Houston Astros made out good, but they sent one of their best prospects over. But the Braves, Alex Anthopoulos, made a move early on, so we didn't have to wait around for a last minute trade. They trade for Brad Hand. Aaron, when you think about how the season's been going for the Braves, obviously they're sitting in first place, has one of the bigger leads in their division in the NL East. And you looking around the division, you see that the Phillies were making moves, the Marlins were making moves. But what are your thoughts on the Alex Anthopoulos saying, hey, you know what? We don't necessarily need a starter, but we're gonna definitely go out here and try to fill out our bullpen, because we know that eventually, that's what we're gonna need in the long run.
Yeah, obviously I'm not a baseball expert, but I imagine trading starting pitching is not something that's easy to do, right?
Yes.
That you have to give up quite a lot to get, a big time starting pitcher. And so the next best thing for a team like the Braves, where the big concern, I think, for most people is not their hitting, but it's really that pitching. And sort of when it gets to, September, October for this baseball season, that's kind of where the pitching really needs to stand out. And so if you can't get, a fourth ace or a fifth ace or something like that, then the next best thing is get a reliever. And I think the Braves have done that, made a couple of moves the last couple of weeks to enhance their bullpen a little bit. And so if you don't have 100% confidence in who that fourth or fifth pitcher is in your rotation, then it's better to be confident in sort of the relief pitching that will be coming in and filling in, the gap between them and the closer. So I feel like the Braves, obviously, with Justin Verlander on the move, you're looking at that and the potential was there for a team like the Braves to make a huge splash. But I think at the end of the day, they were able to get better in an area of need. Maybe they didn't make the huge splash that I think maybe many people were hoping for at this point in time. But at the same time, given the success the Braves have had this season, and I know they're in a little bit of a skid these last couple of weeks since the All-Star break, but I don't feel like the Braves have to completely reinvent the wheel or something. They're taking care of business. They'll probably be all right, especially once they get a little bit healthier, hopefully in the next month or so. So I think these were good moves, and keeping this team right on track to control their destiny for the next couple of months before the postseason.
And obviously, the Braves traded for Pierce Johnson from the Colorado Rockies, and they actually get Brad Hand from the Colorado Rockies as well. So Alex Anthopoulos may have a nice little relationship going from a team who is, hey, we're not good, so hey, we're gonna try to see if we can get what we can get at the trade deadline. I think you bring up an interesting point though, because once the postseason gets here, a lot of times, like I know, like back in the day, baseball was huge. They were huge on starting pitcher because a lot of times you would expect your guys to go 7, 8, sometimes even 9 innings, but today not so much. That's not necessarily the case. So I think that having a strong bullpen is. You can't have enough of those guys. You can't have enough arms. And I think that for you to bring in a lefty like Brad Hand, who's a 3-time All-Star, he with the San Diego Padres, and also he's actually the first player in MLB history to actually play for all the East teams. So I guess that's okay. Hey, he gets some familiarity there. So I think that when you have a guy who's a 3-time All-Star, who has experience, he understands what it's like to be in the postseason. So I think that's definitely an arm that you need. And as far as going forward, I think it's going to be something that can be, beneficial to you once you get your starters back. Because, like you said, once you get into the playoff series, like a lot of times you expect your guys to go 6 innings. If you're giving you 6 innings, you're good to go. And then you got to figure out who's going to do 7, 8, and 9. Obviously, with the Braves having their closer and it's AJ Minter back, their setup, man. I think Alex Anthopoulos is on to some good things. Now, for one more thing as far as Alex Anthopoulos, I think that for instance, I trust Alex Anthopoulos wholeheartedly. And, a lot of times when leading up to the MLB trade deadline, the city of Atlanta, and how we like splashy, we like the fancy stuff, and be talked about in the news. Like, that's kind of like our thing, right? Like, with Michael Vick and all that stuff and everything, we just love for people to put on a show. Like, we like to be entertained, right? So I think that, getting Brad Hand is not necessarily the most fanciest, more splashiest move, but I think that, what do you think it says about Alex Anthopoulos for him to get a guy like this? And, even though they were rumored to be going for a starter pitcher, it just kind of seems like he was kind of good with all the injury report and his guys coming back versus going out and trying to give up a big prospect to try to bring in another starting pitcher.
Yeah, I think it says, I've heard you say it many times, Jarvis. You have full trust in Alex Anthopoulos, right. And like that's part of the job of being a general manager of what is going to help me win tomorrow, and what's going to help me win today, right? And you have to kind of find that balance, and certainly getting a big time starting pitcher could certainly help you win today, but maybe it hurts you tomorrow because you got to give up one of those prospects. Right. And sort of it's the idea of like, okay, well, I can help myself win today by getting someone like Brad Hand, maybe not as much as, an 8th starter, but it is one of those things where you're still set up for success in the long term. And when you've had the recent success that the Braves have had, then you feel like we kind of control our destiny. We can, I don't know how much dynasties matter in baseball as much as they are talked about in other sports, but like you can kind of sort of hold, your spot at the top of the mountain for a while if you're not necessarily trading away your future, trying to go all in. And, it probably helps that the Braves just won a World Series, so it doesn't feel like they're as desperate as other teams might be in this same spot. So, I think Alex Anthopoulos, obviously he's earned a lot of respect from us and a lot of trust in terms of what he's going to bring to the table. So I think this says that, he's got his eye on the prize, but at the same time, like he's got everything under control. They're not panicking. They're not doing any of those things that you see other teams do, not only in baseball, but in other sports.
Absolutely. And that's the type of demeanor or approach that I like my general manager to have, right? Because, I want him to be cool as possible in certain situations, in pressure situations. I don't want him panicking and making panic moves and going out here and being desperate. Like I'm never like a general manager that operates like that. So for him to be cool, calm, and collected, say, you know what, I'm gonna go out here and give me a veteran arm and give me a lefty, to add B football bullpen as we get healthy. I got my AJ Minter came back and he had a strong showing against the Angels last night. I know the Braves lost, but there were some positives last night, with AJ Minter having a clean inning in his return back to the lineup. Now, one of the things that I thought was very interesting, I thought it was a very interesting comparison, right? Arthur Smith, he came from the Tennessee Titans. A lot of people want to compare Desmond Ridder to Ryan Tannehill because that was Arthur Smith's reclamation project. But what are the expectations? Is Ryan Tannehill or is his stats, are they good enough for the Atlanta Falcons to win the NFC South this year? We'll talk about that next. But first, I have to let you know that this episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It is the #1 sportsbook in America. And guess what, guys? They got a nice deal for you. All you need is $20. $20. Get that $20. Go ahead and drop that bad boy in. And guess what they're going to do for you? They're going to give you $200 up for, and that's bonus bets back if win or lose. Like if your first bet doesn't win, cool. If your first bet wins, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going to give you $200. All you got to do is drop $20. And guess what, guys? The app is safe, secure, super easy to use. You don't have to worry about anybody getting your information. And plus, you don't have to go down the street to go text somebody, say, hey, man, I need my money when that bet clears. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to give you your money right there. It's going to be instant. So you ain't got to go, get yourself in trouble and all that stuff, man. You don't need to do all that. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and go get that money. Free money. That free money. All you got to do is drop $20. That's it. That's all you got to do. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon today and mess with the #1 sportsbook in America because FanDuel is the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball. It is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We're talking about the Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder, guys, he has been throwing picks, and he's been the worst quarterback ever since training camp started. I know, like, what are you talking about, Jarvis? That's what it seems like because there have been so many conversations. There are so many expectations, depending on who you talk to, as to what those are. But I think the interesting comparison that I've been seeing, Aaron, and then it was kind of talked about once Arthur Smith was brought on, and then when they drafted Desmond Ridder with the third round of last year's draft, you kind of start hearing those comparisons come again. It was comparisons to Ryan Tannehill. Now, Ryan Tannehill, obviously a guy who played wide receiver. Coming out of college, he had played quarterback for Texas A&M for 1 year. Then he got drafted by the Miami Dolphins, and he was kind of average quarterback. But he had one of his best years in 2020 with Arthur Smith calling the plays. He had like 33 touchdowns and like 7 picks. So, had some of his best numbers of his career, threw for like over 3,800 yards. So my question to you, Aaron, when you think about what your expectations levels are for Desmond Ridder, do you start to kind of think about Ryan Tannehill and look at some of his numbers saying, okay, if he plays like Ryan Tannehill did up under Arthur Smith, is that going to be enough to get them that NFC South division so they can ride up into the playoffs?
I would say, I think if he plays like Ryan Tannehill played in Tennessee, yes, that should win them the division pretty easily. Tannehill was very, very good in that Titans offense. Obviously, we know Derrick Henry was kind of the #1 option in that offense, but that connection between Ryan
second
Tannehill
option too.
That connection between Tannehill and AJ Brown and Corey Davis led to their passing attack. While it wasn't the main thing you were focused on in that offense, they were very efficient and effective, like one of the top red zone offenses. And so if you can get that out of Desmond Ridder, that's to me definitely a playoff team. I guess for me, I don't know if I expect Desmond Ridder to be that level of Ryan Tannehill at that point in Tannehill's career, because Tannehill had started like 90 games by that point he got to Tennessee, had been in the league for like 6-7 years, right? And so like I don't know if I would hold Desmond Ridder basically in what is an extension of his rookie year to play at the level, even as mediocre as we say Ryan Tannehill was in Miami, to play at the level of sort of peak Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee when he was like in year 8 of his NFL career. So I kind of expect more of like Desmond Ridder being more of like the Miami Ryan Tannehill, right? And I think with the pieces around him, that still might be good enough to get into playoffs, but obviously the margin for error is going to be a lot bigger. Like instead of getting like 30 touchdowns or whatever, like I'm thinking more like 20, 22 type of touchdowns for Desmond Ridder. And as long as he can, limit the turnovers and move the chains on third downs and be able to put the ball in the end zone, in the red zone when they're not handing the ball off to Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier or Cordero Patterson. I think that's going to be good. That's going to be their formula for success. So I don't know if you're going to see the eye-popping numbers for Ridder this year, but I do think he can just be good enough. Like the good version of Ryan Tannehill in Miami, I think, is what you're looking for, which was, I think, had like one winning season, if I'm not mistaken there. And like that's going to be what you're looking for in Desmond Ridder this year. Now, once he gets that year under his belt and gets comfortable in the offense and you start to see some of these young pieces grow, then I think next year we might be able to talk about 2020 Ryan Tannehill for Desmond Ridder. But I don't know if I would expect that from him, basically in his rookie season.
Yeah, because I think you're onto something, because when you think about like how they have constructed this team, because there's I feel like there's a lot of room for some mistakes, right? For a young quarterback. A lot of people, were pushing for Lamar Jackson and, trying to get the Falcons to trade for him. But I was like, to be honest with you, the way this team is currently constructed, you don't really need Lamar right now, because like you said, if you can get a Desmond Ridder that under double-digit picks, kind of keep those fumbles to a minimum, because we know that was a big issue for Marcus Mariota last year, is fumbling the rock and just errant throws and all that. I think that, the bar is kind of low for Desmond Ridder. And I'm with you, I don't think that he needs to play like peak Ryan Tannehill. I think that if he can play like some of those early years Ryan Tannehill, and maybe just a little bit ahead of him, because like you said, Ryan Tannehill only played quarterback 1 year in college. So, like, a guy playing wide receiver, 1 year, played wide receiver most of his career in college and played quarterback for 1 year. I would think that a 4-year starter out of Cincinnati can be a little bit better than that. So I think the one thing though that I'm interested to see early on in the season, like literally like the first 4 weeks of the season, is that deep ball connection, because that's one thing that Ryan Tannehill excelled at. Like he excelled at throwing the ball down the field, and I think that there might be a concern for people because hey, there was it was subjective, I believe, but with Matt Ryan in the connection with his deep ball to Julio. So I don't think people want to go through that. I don't think they want to do 2+7 and see that 9 out there not being able to connect with 5 or connect with 8. Because last year, we saw that too. Like Marcus Mariota was awful throwing the football. Like I think he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL in 20+ yards throws downfield. So that's something that I feel like I'm gonna have my eye on. But do you feel like he can be that guy to make those connections downfield?
Yeah, I think he can. I think the issue we're gonna run in with Desmond Ridder is because of all these expectations are all over the place, and he's going to be the next Jalen Hurts, he's going to be the next Ryan Tannehill, he's going to be the next Dak Prescott, he's going to be the next, I don't know, Jacoby Brissett, whoever else people are throwing out there. There's not going to be that much room in a lot of people's eyes for him to grow. Like I think people are just automatically assuming he's going to be the fully formed version of whatever you think he's going to be. And so for me, it's like, okay, when we get to September, like I'm sure there's going to be ups, I'm sure there's going to be downs. And I think the area that we need to keep in mind is like what he is in September is not necessarily what he's going to be in December and in January, and then what he's going to be the following year. So I agree with you. Like that connection on the deep ball is going to be pivotal. But at the same time, even if it doesn't get off to the fastest start in the season, I don't think we should be like, oh, well, he stinks and he'll never get it. And it's just like, well, you have to build rapport and timing and all these things with your receivers. And like, that play where he missed Kyle Pitts the other day and everybody's like on Twitter over it. It's like that clearly was a play where the timing was off on the throw. And like, given that that's really the first real reps that you're getting with this player, like you're not expecting that to be on the same page immediately. So like, yeah, I think Desmond Ridder can get there. I think people need to be prepared for it not necessarily being there week 1, but week 15, I think, we can hope that growth, if there needs to be growth, will be there by the time we get, to the end of the season.
I think I know what the issue is though. And you know what the problem is though, right?
Oh, what's the problem, Jarvis?
The problem is people are trying to be like you. because you're the Falcons prophet. You know what I'm saying? Like you throw things out there, 6 to 7 to 8 months in advance and say, you know what, hey, this is what's about to go down. Like y'all don't see it, I see it, and here's what it is. And those things actually come to fruition. You know what I'm saying? But not all jokes aside, though, I think that people don't have any patience. And when it comes to football, man, like it's not that hard. Like you just got to do it over and over and over again until you get it. Like now, true enough, the great ones, you're going to see it early and often, right? But like in Arthur Smith's offense, you don't really need a great quarterback in order for them to be successful. Now, when you talk about Bijan Robinson and the whole Drake London and Kyle Pitts piece and drafting those pass catchers, like, those expectations kind of go up a little bit. But I think that there's going to be some development there for Desmond Ridder in order for him to get on those guys' level, right? And that starts with getting that rapport. Like he got some rapport with Drake London. We've seen that. We saw that last year. He developed that, and I feel like that's good. That can do nothing but grow, right? But when you're talking about being able to connect with Bijan Robinson, he and Desmond Ridder are roommates. So he's been building up that rapport with him and building up some chemistry with him. So I think that we're going to start to see that with Kyle Pitts. The more and more they play together, the more and more Kyle gets put out there because, hey, he's been limited. Like he hasn't been on all the 7-on-7 and all the 11-on-11. They're working him back slowly. They've been playing it really safe. So I think people are going to have to really give it some time and stop trying to be like you, and try to prophesy, what Desmond Ridder's going to be, in the first 4 games of the season. So, but I think that it's going to be very interesting to kind of, as we keep an eye on these developments, right? Because people are going to be all on opposite ends of the spectrum every day, right? So, get your Tylenol ready, get your Advil ready. We're going to have to, we're in for a long ride, as this season goes along. And if you guys, want to join Aaron and I, we're going to be on the Falcons postcast after every Falcons game. Come on now. Like, y'all know how we get down. Like, it gets really... Sometimes it gets really real, as soon as that clock strikes 0. So make sure you guys check us out on the Falcons postcast. Also, I want to thank our everydayers for rocking with ATL Day Ones, Monday through Friday. All you guys are our everydayers. Drop a comment in the comment box. If you feel like Desmond Ridder is going to be Ryan Tannehill off the bat, man, let's go with that. Go ahead and drop a comment. Say, hey, Jarvis, I don't care what you and Aaron say. I don't give a damn. He's going to be the number 1 quarterback going forward, or he's going to be a bum. Like, however you feel, go ahead and drop it in the comment box. Really appreciate that from you in advance. But Aaron, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different. When this whole NIL thing, Aaron, came out, man. I'm sitting up here like, man, why did this not come out when I was in college and I was being recruited? Because, like I was just happy to get a free meal from some random person who, is a big fan of our squad. You know what I'm saying? I went to a small D2 school, but hey, we had love shown around the little small country town of Albany, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? But man, when I heard about this story, though, I like, man, I got to talk about this guy, with my guy, Aaron. Taulia Tagovailoa, Tua's brother, yes. I'm not, if that's what you were thinking, yes. Like, it's not too many people with that last name out there. He plays for the Maryland. It seemed like he'd been at Maryland for like 8 years. I was like, man, how does this man still has college eligibility there? It's beyond me. But he came out and said, Aaron, that somebody, an SEC school, offered him $1.5 million to leave Maryland. I got a 2-parter for you.
Okay.
First of all, would you have stayed? And second of all, like, why didn't you just come out and just say what the school was? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, it's the Wild Wild West anyway, so what's the point of keeping that under wraps, man? Like, I want the goods. I want the tea. I want the juice, man. But first of all, definitely, like, man, what kind of dude Taulia got to be? Because I feel like I know the answer to this question, but what kind of dude does Taulia have to be to turn down $1.5 million in NIL deal, man?
I mean, I I wouldn't turn it down, but
Thank you. Hey, I figured that, but I just wanted to make sure to double check with you, man.
Ain't nobody going to be
Still
offering
living
me
over there.
$1.5 million in my lifetime. Like I
Right.
know that, right? Like
I
if
want to
someone's
be able to
offering me
make that in
type
my
of money,
lifetime. You know what I'm saying?
I can't even imagine the scenario where someone's offering that type of money to me.
Right.
I'm sure, given who he is and the sport he plays, that he probably gets pretty good offers. Probably not that level. I've heard some speculation that it was Alabama because that was his old stomping grounds and his brother. And they got some quarterback issues going on. No one knows who's going to be the starter and whatnot. So, I've heard some people connecting the dots and say it's like Alabama tried to throw the bag at him to lure him back there. I also heard some stuff like he turned it, like if he didn't have a brother in the NFL making millions of dollars, that he probably would have been less likely to turn it down because, that's money, family changing money, right? But his family's already got hooked up by Tua, right?
No doubt.
So he can afford to pass that, I guess you could say.
Like I want my own money though.
Yeah, so
can I have
that's
my
the
bag
reason
in college? Imagine that bag in college though. Like,
yeah, man, like the NIL is crazy because it's just like it's now to a point like that would have been crazy 5 years ago for someone to turn down that money, right? But like nowadays, because you can get money, like you're like, well, I can go to Alabama or wherever and play for $1.5 million, or I can stay in Maryland and make, I don't know, 800, I don't know what the numbers are, but like a ridiculous amount of money. And then if you think like, if I stay at Maryland, I've been in this offense for a couple of years, it's going to help me have a better season so I can get drafted higher. So like you can sit there and justify like, oh, I can make up the $700,000 or whatever the money is. Again, you put whatever money you want to put out there. I can make it up next year when I go to the pros or something if I have a better year at Maryland. So like that's the weird sort of math that college kids have to do now. It's like, is this it's like now back in the day when I was in college, it's like $50 is like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. $20. Like I will do some low down stuff. I've been eating ramen for weeks. Like, I need some money. So like the idea of turning down that type of money is just crazy to me. But like nowadays, like you can players can I guess justify it because like you're getting money, especially when you're a player at his level, you're getting money regardless. So it's just like it's like being a free agent in the NFL. It's like this team offered me $4 million, this team offered me $3 million. That $1 million don't make that much of a difference. Let me go to this team because they're going to win a championship rather than this team that's going to go 3-14 or what. So it's crazy how the NIL has completely changed college football.
It is so crazy, man, because like I was thinking about when you were talking, I was thinking about Jordan Addison, from Pitt, your guy, won the Biletnikoff Award and bumped it to across country to USC. I was just like, what type of bag are they passing out for him to leave the place where he won the Biletnikoff Award? For those you don't know, that's the best wide receiver in college football. And he left like it was nothing. He was just like, oh, I'm going to USC. And, I'm about to get $2 million. And I'm about to be living in LA in a condo, where my parents probably couldn't even afford. I don't know what Jordan Addison parents do for a living, but golly, man, like I'm sure he was living nice out there in LA doing this thing in his last year. And then he goes on to get drafted into the NFL. So those are the type of things, those numbers you start doing in your math. It's like, all right, so let me see. Do I want to have my hands on $1 million now or do I want to wait? Let me go get this meal now. And then, I'll get the few more million, in guaranteed money or whatever, move my draft stock up. So it's just crazy to me, man. When I came across, I was like, wow, this is some new-ish going on, man. And to be honest with you, Aaron, because they kept it on the wraps for so long, like all this stuff been going on for, like, this is nothing new. Like I know the underbelly of college football because I played with cats that were recruited by Ohio State. They've been passing out envelopes full of money, man, and I'm old. I'm pretty old. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to know that these guys have been passing out the bag for a very long time. It's just that, it's just still to see a 7-figure deal be turned down by a 21-year-old. It's just I don't think I ever get used to that. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't have no problem with it. Get your money, get your bag. But man, when you hear stories of these cats like this turning money down, even Zay Flowers, he turned down some money as well. He was saying SEC school was trying to pass all the bags, but he stayed at Boston College. He still ended up getting drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. So, but for these cats to turn out 7-figure deals, man, this is just a very interesting world that we live in.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It's now above the table when it used to be under the table with the money being changing hands. So, like, I guess it's better. It's better, right? Like, it's a lot more transparency on like who's
this
out here
is great.
buying.
We get to talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
We can't just be like, wink. Yes, he was the number 1 recruit in the country, and he chose UCLA over USC. Wink, and because UCLA is a better
school,
academic program.
Education.
Wink, wink. Like that type of thing. Like that's how it used to be. But like now, no. He
rip the Band-Aid off and just tell the truth. Like, let's do it.
Right out the gate.
Yeah, man. I love it, man. I love putting these college, football coaches, head coaches, and everything, try to be all high and mighty, man. Like, nah, you doing the same thing everybody else trying to do. You just mad because you ain't got the booster club to get it right, to come with the bag. So yeah, man. I love it. And shout out to Taulia, man, for being a stand-up guy. But if you're getting $750,000 that we ain't heard from Maryland, is it really that big of a deal? Yeah. We shall see. Well, who knows? Who knows? What we do know, we hope that you guys have been rocking with us each and every day, our everydayers on ATL Day Ones. We appreciate you guys. Also want to let you know that we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. Make sure, if you haven't done so, subscribe, like our YouTube channel. We're over 8,000 subscribers, guys. We're trying to get to 10. Can we get to 10 before the season starts? That's about a month away or so. So, yeah, come on, you guys. Get on the bandwagon. Go ahead and do that. If you've done so already, go and spread the word. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And last but not least, before we get out of here, make sure, you guys, if you don't do anything else with your lives, make sure that you will share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.